All right, we will go ahead and get this meeting called to order before any of you decide you want to leave and put us below quorum again. Welcome, and roll is being taken by means of sign-in at the door. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum? Fantastic. We have a number of alternates with us today. We have Liliana Naranjo replacing Carmela Matza, Amin Rafieh replacing Samuel Snow, Donghui Zhang for Revati Kumar, and Tiara Evans replacing Healy Cobb. Are there any alternates whose names I did not just call? Yes. Thank you. Michelle, do we have that? Sure. Oh, she may have, and we may have overlooked it accidentally, but thank you. Any additional alternates? Okay. Thank you. We do have a number of guests with us as well. Dr. Matthew Calamia, Associate Dean of the Pinkie Gordon Lane Graduate School. Sean Courtney, Associate Vice President for Compliance, Integrity, Analytics, and Research Security. And Jason Dradi, Lead Flagship Transformation Office. We have no public comments. The minutes from our prior meeting on January 14th, 2026 were circulated via email in advance of today's meeting. I assume there will be no objections to foregoing a reading of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes as distributed? Hearing no corrections, the minutes are approved. And thank you, Michelle, for getting those together as always. Dear Senators, the final half of the spring semester promises to be busy beyond the usual business of teaching and research that accelerates at this time of year. This month's report includes a number of updates which may be of interest to you and your colleagues, and I would ask that you please share with them at your next opportunity. Item 1, panel on engaging students in large classes. On February 25th, the LSU Office of Academic Affairs and the LSU Faculty Senate hosted Teaching at Scale, Engaging Students in Large Enrollment Classes, a campus-wide panel focused on strengthening student engagement in high enrollment courses. Attendees had the opportunity to learn directly from colleagues who have demonstrated excellence in teaching large enrollment courses and to participate in a Q&A that encouraged dialogue across disciplines. The session was recorded and is available on the Faculty Senate's News and Events webpage for faculty and graduate teaching assistants seeking to enhance engagement and learning outcomes in their own classrooms. I thank faculty panelists Dan Capron, Maribel Dietz, Zakia S. Wilson-Kennedy, and David Young for their helpful guidance, Bailey Banta and Kelsey Brannon for assistance with coordination, and Dr. Jennifer Baumgartner and Vice Provost Jacqueline Bach for their efforts in organizing the event. Item 2, Senior Vice Chancellor and Provost Search Update. The search for the next Senior Vice Chancellor and Provost is now underway. It is expected that finalists will be meeting with stakeholder groups on campus in early May, and most of the process will have concluded by the end of the spring semester. Information about opportunities to engage with and provide feedback about the candidates will be made available as we get closer to the beginning of May. Item 3, Attendance and Generative Artificial Intelligence Surveys. The Senate is preparing to distribute 2 important surveys to students in the next few weeks. One survey focuses on factors which impact students' class attendance and was developed by Dr. Carrie Tobin in the Latrill and Pearl Payne School of Education in the College of Human Sciences and Education. This is a follow-up study to our pilot survey of faculty on their perceptions of student attendance last spring. The other survey was developed by the FS Generative Artificial Intelligence Committee and queries students about their use of this technology. All responses to both surveys will be anonymous, and both will employ measures to ensure that only LSU students can participate. We appreciate the support of Senior Vice Chancellor and Provost Blanchard and the other members of the Office of Academic Affairs in developing these surveys. Vice President Singh and I have also met with members of student government and enrollment management to seek their support and assistance in publicizing the effort to students and obtaining a high response rate. We hope to have the surveys available to students in early April and will provide more information as it becomes available. Item 4, Course Evaluation Committee. We are still in need of faculty to participate in the Course Evaluation Committee. This group will review our current method of course evaluations along with the proposed alternatives and develop recommendations for future improvement. We are in need of individuals with expertise in program evaluation generally and course and instructor evaluations in particular. Please reach out to me if you have any interest in serving on the committee. And item 5, Go Big Volunteer Opportunity. Volunteer LSU and Campus Life are hosting an upcoming Go Big event on Saturday, March 28th. The purpose of the event is to host a Keep Louisiana Beautiful cleanup at the Milford Wampold Park across from Sorority Row. They are in need of volunteers for 2 shifts that day. The first is from 9 to 11 a.m., and the second is from 10 a.m. to noon. All faculty, along with their families and friends, are welcome to volunteer. Please contact me if you would like to volunteer or would like more information about the event, and I will be happy to put you in touch with the organizers. We look forward to seeing you at the final Senate meeting of the academic year on Tuesday, April 21st. And as always, if there's anything the Executive Committee can do to be of assistance, please do not hesitate to contact us. That is the conclusion of the President's report. Are there any questions that I can help address? All right. Moving on to our first item of business today, which is the FSEC elections overview and candidates. We want to just take a moment with the elections impending in April to kind of give you some details about the Executive Committee, the roles, and then present the candidates and welcome nominations from the floor. To start, the elections, as laid out in our Constitution and bylaws, will be held at our next meeting, which is going to be Tuesday, April 21st. The positions to be elected are President, Vice President, Secretary, and 2 members at large. I'm sure you can do math. You see we have 3 members at large with us currently. Recall that the 3rd member at large position is reserved for an incoming senator in next year's cohort. So in April, we'll be electing 2 members at large, with the 3rd one to be elected in September. Terms are 1 year, with members eligible to stand for re-election, and officers assume their office on July 1st. All senators and members of the Executive Committee are eligible to stand for election and can be candidates, although they cannot hold more than 1 position. And so, as you may see, we have some candidates who have put in for multiple positions on the slate. Those individuals, if they are elected to a preceding office, will, of course, then be ineligible for the subsequent election. No more than 2 voting members of the FSEC can come from the same unit. The immediate past president is not a voting position on the Executive Committee. Sorry, Inessa. And so that does not count. But for the rest of them, for the 3 officer positions and the 3 members at large, no more than 2 can come from the same college or unit. The FSEC meetings are held weekly during the fall and spring semesters and every other week on average during the summer. We don't always meet every other week, but that is the usual pace. Newly elected members will join the FSEC at the beginning of the summer term, and members who are not continuing on exit at the end of the summer term. So essentially over the summer, we have a super FSEC that is composed of the incoming members jointly with any member that will not be continuing on into the next year. And all FSEC meetings are held in person due to the fact that the FSEC is a public body. So much like the Senate, we must follow the same open meetings laws that the Senate does, and consequently all of our meetings are in person. Are there any questions I can answer about the Executive Committee or its functions before we get to the candidates? Okay, so here are the candidates who have put themselves forward for the election up to this point in time. So for president, it is myself, Daniel Tirone from HSS. Vice President, Michelle Osborn from Vet Med. Secretary, we have 2 candidates, Kenneth Lopata from Science and Rosemary Peters-Hill from HSS. And then we have a number of member-at-large candidates, Mehdi Farasat from Engineering, Kristen Healy from Ag, Kyla Kazuschyk from CMDA, and Rosemary Peters-Hill from HSS. These are only the candidates who have identified themselves to this point. There will still be opportunities for individuals to put themselves forward. Right now, we will accept nominations from the floor. We will also accept nominations in advance of each election at the April meeting. The elections will be run in order of president, then vice president, then secretary, then members at large. And before each election, we will once again open the opportunity for nominations. However, at this point in time, is there anyone who is not currently named on this slate who would like to put themselves forward as a candidate for one of these positions? All right. Well, thank you to everyone who has identified themselves as a candidate. Just to let you know, from this point moving forward, the nominating committee will be reaching out to these individuals. They will be collecting biographical sketches and candidate statements. Those will be circulated in advance of the April meeting to the full Senate, so you'll have a chance to review the slate in advance of the meeting. And then once again, there will be another opportunity for nominations prior to each election. So thank you, and that brings us to our next piece of business, which is consideration of a proposal to change policy regarding LSU faculty eligibility to pursue advanced degrees at LSU. And this will be presented by Dr. Matthew Calamia, Associate Dean of the Pinkie Gordon Lane Graduate School. Dr. Calamia.
Thank you. Okay, so as you may know, LSU has a pretty generous tuition benefit for its employees. It's actually described as one of the most valuable benefits offered to LSU employees. And PM 12 establishes that it's a responsibility of each institution to set its own procedures around things, including this benefit of employees seeking degrees. The proposed changes that have come through the Graduate Council and Graduate School and now on here to the Faculty Senate are to change the previous policy, which said that faculty other than instructors were ineligible to pursue graduate degrees, to all faculty with certain conditions and oversight, which I'll go into, can pursue graduate degrees. The second change is that previously the policy didn't have any restrictions as to who could be the chair of a graduate committee for a staff member getting a graduate degree. However, as is the case that it's often staff seeking a graduate degree in their own department, where their work supervisor may also be the supervisor of their PhD dissertation. Graduate Council recommended to change this policy to require there be a co-chair of a committee that's not the person's direct work supervisor, and in circumstances where that couldn't be accomplished because of the size of the department or some other issue, they could seek exceptions through the graduate school as approved by the dean. So this is the previous language that was in the general catalog, which shows you faculty member above the rank of instructor or someone deemed equivalent to that status couldn't pursue a graduate degree. And the proposed changes are that, again, faculty members would be able to pursue a graduate degree, assuming that the department said it would in some way benefit the department and LSU, and that the faculty member developed a clear kind of plan for managing conflicts of interest with students, committee assignments, and also that the faculty member would not be able to teach or advise or participate in graduate training in their department in which they're seeking their degree. So if you're getting a PhD in the department and you were previously teaching master's level courses, you would no longer be able to do so because now you've become a graduate student and you can't be kind of teaching other graduate students in your same department. And then there'd be a requirement to submit a plan with that. And then the second change, again, this additional sentence around, or a couple of sentences, that the doctoral committee be co-chaired with someone outside the direct work supervisor. This from time to time is an area where grievances or other issues do come to the grad school. And so this was, again, some language suggested by the grad school and graduate council to kind of get ahead of an issue that sometimes arises with dual roles. Okay, happy to answer any questions on those. Yep.
Sorry, we're showing mics because the wireless has a bit of feedback on it. This was reported favorably out of the ASH committee, so there is a motion pending to favorably approve this proposal. It does not require a second. And when we do get to the Q&A period, and I know Mike will start with you, please do wait until you get the microphone and then identify yourself in your unit just for the purposes of the recording of the meeting.
Oh, we ready? Okay. Hi, Mike Holt from Library, and I guess you can guess my question here, and that is, does the librarians who are faculty do not typically teach courses, and especially not at the graduate level, would the prohibition on teaching still count for them? Fine if it does, just curious.
If they would not be considered, let me go back to, so that this would be a situation where it's, but no one they would consider, though, explain this to me, they would be, they would be teaching courses or not?
They would not be teaching.
If they're not teaching courses, there's no.
I mean, but they would be okay to be like a TA or something in a.
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
Okay.
that's separate.
Okay.
Yep. If you were
Okay.
a graduate assistant, yeah.
Totally fine.
That's
Just
a separate issue. Yeah.
Wanted to make sure in case.
Yeah, it's like
any
an
questions.
instructor of record
Yep.
kind of. Yep.
Thank you.
So Scott Baldridge in mathematics. This sounds great. I just had a curious question, which is, can you tell us a little bit of the history about why this came about? And roughly how many people do you think will take advantage of it per year?
So a fair number of staff in particular take advantage of this benefit to pursue graduate degrees, most typically master's degrees, although there's certainly some staff who might be research associates in a lab for a few years who then go on and pursue a PhD. I don't have the exact numbers though, but it's not incredibly uncommon, especially in some areas. I don't know enough about the history of the changes. So these changes were sent pros by grad council in like 2022. And then just did not make their way to faculty senate as it should be. So I'm kind of picking up based on a kind of past proposal. So I'm not sure of the kind of the details of some of the history. This policy, there's a part that's for faculty and a part that's for staff. Staff could do it before, yes. And there's no changes to this for staff other than requiring that their doctoral supervisor, should they be in a PhD program, not be their work supervisor. Or at least that could be one chair, but not, they'd have to co-chair. But there would be a change for faculty. Faculty previously were excluded from being able to pursue a graduate degree. Now there is a pathway. I don't know how common this will be, but it was apparently common enough that a request was made years ago to change the policy, which is why, bringing it here today.
Hi, my name is Brian Tunel. I'm coming from the business school. I have a very simple question. Is there any time limit for this? Like a staff doing graduate PhD degree should complete in 5, 8, or 10, you know?
They would be subject to the same time requirements as any other graduate student. So if they're in a doctoral program, they'd face that 7-year time limit. They would be the kind of same policy. In terms of tuition benefit, they're able to take up to 6 credit hours a semester, which is not quite full-time for grad studies, but still a good number of hours.
Paul Manthe, Human Sciences and Education. I assume, but I just wanted to confirm, this applies to online graduate degrees as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the policy would apply on campus and online. Yep.
Thank you.
And we do have a fair number of staff pursuing online degrees in certain areas. But no doctoral degrees because we don't have any online doctoral degrees at this time.
Any additional questions? All right, hearing no additional questions, I believe we are ready to proceed with the vote. So the vote will be to approve the proposal as presented to change the opportunity to pursue advanced degrees for faculty at LSU. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries, and thank you, Associate Dean Calamia. All right, and our next presentation is going to be on research security training renewals and updates, and that will be presented by Sean Courtney, Associate Vice President for Compliance, Integrity, Analytics, and Research Security. Associate Vice President Courtney, please feel free to come on up.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you again. We've hit the 1-year mark. It was 1 year ago that I came and talked to you about the introduction of online research security training. And if you'll reflect back, you'll remember that this was driven by changes from the Department of Energy and the NSF requiring this change to be done 12 months prior to submitting a proposal. As of last year, I was asking federal partners for a grandfather clause, which we were given. But this year, we are officially in a place that all of the individuals that have completed research security training meet the parameters of the language and we qualify. Now, to give you an update on where we've been in a year, we've trained just shy of 800 people. That's significant because we're only talking about the A&M campus. So thank you very much for your prolific handling of getting this information disseminated and participating in the program itself. Now, this is a 1-year training. And this is required by the federal government that we have a 12-month window to renew our training. As we head into April, I'll be the first one to expire. I expire on March 28th. So March 26th, 27th, I'm going to retake my training. In city, it's the same course. It's 1 hour. The reason for that is the federal government is requiring that we maintain that same standard of having 1 hour of training for the 12-month annual period. So we're going to hold steady on the research security training combined course in city. Again, it will take you 1 hour. If you've seen it, you may move a little faster. Some of the content is being updated as some changes have come into place. It won't be a sweeping brand new course. You'll see much of the same feel, but there will be updates to it. But we're in a much stronger position than we were a year ago. We now qualify for many more grant proposals because we have so much research security training completed. When we report, when you submit your grant, OSP confirms with research compliance that the training is complete, and then we advise the federal government that you're eligible to compete for this grant. So thank you very much for embracing this big change that came last year with the introduction and advent of research security training. That's about all I have for you. I know your time is precious, but I wanted to let you know everything you're doing is successful. We're at 800 people. We're a year into this program. We're growing stronger. Our key personnel are trained. The federal government is supporting us in our prolific nature. And I want to thank you for all that you've done. I'll digress now and take any questions that you may have for me moving forward.
Any questions for Associate Vice President Courtney? Easygoing group today. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming. All right. And our last presentation for today is going to be a review of the Flagship Transformation Initiative. And we are pleased to welcome Dr. Jason Drotti, lead Flagship Transformation Office, to walk us through it. So, Dr. Drotti.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here. So I will say that in December, the Board of Supervisors voted to realign the 5 research campuses of the LSU system into one statewide flagship university. That includes both health science centers, Pennington Biomedical, the Ag Center, and the main campus here in Baton Rouge. From that time on, a process began in which we would start to realign and reorganize the institutions themselves into the one. I will say the chancellor first thought about this occurring in 2 phases, and right now we're in phase 1, which is a very basic phase where we're trying to knit together some policies that affect the operational aspects of life, like travel approval would be an example, something very small and very mundane. The second phase would be something more aspirational, something that would involve faculty input, a lot about where you want to go with departments and programs. And so that's kind of how it works out. Let's cover that. There were 25 committees or panels that were constructed. As you might imagine, there were some primary topics, and then we broke it out into some task forces. And this is a listing here. Each one has its own charge or its own scope of work. I see Jackie Bach is here. She is the co-chair of the Academic and Student Success Committee, and she's been working with her colleague in New Orleans on student-related activities and matters that would range from registrars to student aid to student disciplinary actions and appeals. And you can see them all here. I think the one that the faculty would really be interested in is the Research Enterprise Committee, and there's a lot of angst going into that. And let me just say, there's no need for angst. It's going to be really simple. The major part here is that everybody wants to ensure that research is protected. Believe me, research is going to be protected. It's going to be fine and promoted. I think the research financing is kind of within that one. That's the one that's of most interest because the CFOs get involved and they're going to talk about the financing and how you separate the F&A, and that probably you will not even know a difference in your everyday life. You just probably won't change that much. Intellectual property, that's one where the chancellor has taken a little bit of more interest than the others. He's really been hands-off at letting this all happen organically. On the Intellectual Property Committee, he has asked the chairman, Wayne Baumgartner of the Ag Center, to please consider maybe consolidating some of the services of the IP functions so that we have better services for the faculty here. The Asset Committee is going to be a lot of your finance and administrative services. Again, that's your leave policies, how we pay for things, who gets the approvals. Really, it's the movement of paper more than anything else. It's the way that I view it. I'm sure some people feel very differently. Intellectual property shouldn't be there, so that's a mistake on my part. Human resources will be another one, which will be of some interest, and you'll see there's an academic personnel task force. We're not changing P&T. in this phase, right? That's not how this works. What we're talking about is so that the faculty are all treated fairly across the campuses. So there's equal treatment under the rules. You got to get the rules all right. The definitions are not always the same. So we got to get some definitions the same, right? Very basic stuff. We're going to amend it all together, and then we'll start on the aspirational phase as well. And then over here, you'll see there's 5 advisory committees. 3 of them are internal and 2 are external. On the internal is the Faculty Advisory Committee. The Faculty Advisory Committee is really composed of 2 groups. One is the faculty advisors to the LSU Board of Supervisors. Dan Tirone, also the chair of that committee. And also there was a set of faculty members who were chosen for their experience or their seniority, or they brought something to the table. To be honest, with so many biomedical interests being involved in the faculty advisory group, we balance it out with engineering and business, and I think humanities and social sciences or something else, but we try to strike a balance within disciplines there. This very busy chart was constructed to demonstrate the process here. That's what the arrows are. Each task force will take on an issue. The issue will be like student appeal process, as an example, right? The task force will then deliberate and make a recommendation that will then float to the committee. It will float into, for example, Jackie Bach, and her committee will then consider it, right? So then you have 2 levels of review there. The advisories fit right in the middle here. And what's going to happen is the recommendations get distributed to all the advisory committees, and they'll have some amount of time to deliberate. Small items might be a week. Heavier items might be 2 or 3 weeks, depending on what we feel is necessary and what the chairs feel is necessary for deliberation. Once if they make comment, it'll be appended to the recommendation, and that will be forwarded to the executive committee. The executive committee is composed of senior vice chancellors. That's 1 per campus. Also Robert Twilley, who's over research, and Ashley Arsenault, who's the chief of staff and over chief operating officer here in Baton Rouge. Once the executive committee is then happy or content with the recommendation, they will then move it to the chancellor for final disposition. For some item, or what we're hoping, is that by May 1st, a bulk of the work will be done and implementation will occur around July 1. Hopefully, let me just say those are not rigid because it all depends on the timeframes involved, right? And so we want to give everyone really good time to deliberate. We don't need to rush into it, but we do need to do some things very quickly. The one at the top of the list is accreditation. Jane Cassidy is chairing that committee. She actually had a 1-month head start, and so they have done the prospectus to SACS that has gone in. It was submitted in March. There's an update on the website, which is listed there if you'd like to see that. And then we'll come back and we'll do a full board review. I don't know the name of it, but SACS will be back to visit us for sure. Some small details here on the bottom is, we don't have to have global policies for everything. Some things are very local. So the committees and task force will determine, do we need a global policy or not? And so that's one. And if we do need a global policy, what would that look like and what would that entail? And then it'll step through the process, right? Deliberations are not limited. You don't have to have just recommendations, by the way. On policies, it can be actions. So one that comes to mind that everybody seems to be talking about is subscriptions for journals. Like, how can we consolidate that, save some money, and maybe expand the access to journals? So that's one right at the top of the list, for example. And then lastly, on transparency, the boss was very clear about this. He wants it to be a very transparent process. So we do have a website. We will provide updates on what is being deliberated and at what time. As the committee chairs tell me, I will then post it up there. It's a little light right now because the committees are trying to get their work together, their scopes of work, but it'll start to get busy here in a week or 2. I think that Jackie Bach's committee is probably, except for accreditation, Jackie's committee is way out in front of everybody else. So I've been using her as a guinea pig on the process. We will have a database and it will track it all the way through. I think that concludes the transformation process and where we are today. Any questions, or we don't do questions? I'm happy not to do any questions if you like.
Are there any questions for Dr. Drotti?
Fantastic.
We're going to start developing a reputation. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate the information. All right. Well, we have moved through our agenda at lightning speed and have concluded the business that was listed. At this point in time, is there a motion to adjourn? All right. We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have those? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Didn't think so. Thank you, everybody. And please do make sure you are here on the 21st, not only for the elections, there's some other business that we're going to want to make sure we get to and will require a quorum. But thank you.
21st, like, B, Yang, and B.